Joining me today is Jim Hoff from Gateway Pundit. Jim, thank you for joining me today.
Good to see you, Stephen. What a week, huh?
Yeah, you and I just want people to see our enthusiasm. Like, we did it. Trump won. You and I helped him win. This is such a great week.
It's really just a dream come true, and I'm just blown away by the whole thing. And of course, we still see a couple of races counting, but my gosh, Trump wins and brings coattails once again. I mean, the same thing he did actually in 2020 when he won all the battleground House races except for one or two, and but Joe Biden had the 81 million votes, which is really interesting, and we may talk about that if you want later. But if people are finally questioning, where these 12 million votes go that they disappeared this year, that were there in 2020. So I'm glad people are questioning that. We did for years, and we paid for it just for raising the question. But today it's a great day. The Senate, the House, and it looks like the House and Donald Trump in the presidency.
Yeah, the path has just been, it's like the waters of Moses have parted, and the Trump plan to make America great again, make America healthy again, safe again, can all proceed forward. I'm so excited to see what it is that they're going to do. So, you guys have covered this. I've covered this. There's 300,000 missing children under Joe Biden. I hope Trump will look for those. I don't know where they are, but the big mystery this week is, where did those 15 to 16 million American voters go? They disappeared. Obama gets around 65 million votes. He does 65 million again. Joe Biden supposedly gets 81 million, and Kamala gets 65. Like, where did 16 million humans go, or did they never exist at all? That is the mystery this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Last weekend, I was on with Steve Bannon on the War Room, and that was something he was talking about back then. He was saying they're not going to have those 10 million, 15 million votes because they're not real. They never were real. And I love that he's so vocal about saying, shoving it in the face of the left and of the legacy media. And he has never wavered in the fact that he continues to question these ridiculous numbers that we saw in 2020, where you have Donald Trump, the sitting president, get 9 million more votes, get the most votes ever for a sitting president by a long shot, getting more than 6 million more than Barack Obama's best election. He also won all of the bellwether counties except one. He won all of the battleground states, traditional battleground states, which is Ohio, Iowa, and Florida, easily. And all of these other coincidences, and yet he loses the election, and he never has wavered. We've never wavered, and it drove the left crazy. And it's just so refreshing now to see everybody question 2020. And I think it's great. And of course, Steve Bannon paid for this. He was in prison for 4 months. We've paid with nonstop lawfare suits against us and censorship. But the question still needs to be asked: how the hell did that happen with Joe Biden campaigning from his basement? And nobody liked him, and nobody really even knew him. I think half the country probably wouldn't have even been able to point him out, in one of those street demonstrations. You ask which one's Joe Biden, I think half the country wouldn't have been able to point him out. So it was very strange, very strange.
Yeah, it's almost like semi trucks full of pre-filled ballots just randomly showed up. Here's a good example. People go, where did all the votes come from? And then you just do a little Google search and you go, wait a minute, the election board of Georgia is saying 500,000 votes were either deleted or never existed in just one of our counties in Georgia. But then they go, let's just move on to the future, right? But that's a huge number. 500,000 humans either voted and they deleted any record of it, or those 500,000 never existed. And that's what we got to get to the bottom of this over the next little bit.
That would be incredible if they actually went back and reviewed that election, because none of that made sense. I was very disappointed at the time that there weren't more honest mathematicians in this country, and we must have tens of thousands of mathematicians who didn't step forward and start looking at these numbers. Actuaries, at the time of the 2020 election, we actually had a couple sources to us, two actuaries. We never could identify them. They didn't want to be identified, but at least they reached out to us and they showed us some things that they're like, they knew it wasn't real. They knew those numbers were not real. They just did not fit. It did not work out. And here's the other thing in 2020, 5 states, battleground states that Trump's clearly way ahead in, decide to coordinate together. And I think it had to be coordination, and announce that they're going to quit voting for the night. It's unheard of. And the FBI was completely absent throughout there was no investigations on so many things that should have happened. The Bell Page incident, which you just mentioned, the truck drivers who bring in two semi-loads of completed ballots from New York into Pennsylvania. At least one of the trucks was going into Pennsylvania. The other driver, I think, was out in Michigan or Wisconsin. But anyway, they drop off this trailer and they never, and it disappears. 2 years later, we find out the post office said it disappeared. And I know, because I know the person who was doing that investigation, who was doing it for Trump, because the DOJ didn't want to touch it. He got a call from Bill Barr, and Bill Barr screamed at him and told him, "You need to stop this investigation." Think of that. And we've written about that. That isn't a secret. But think of that. The FBI was doing nothing. We found out last year that the FBI was supposedly going to do a investigation on the GBI strategies out of Michigan. It was a company that got caught, and they were caught filling out at least 10,000 just in one county of these fake registrations. They turned the investigation over to the FBI. It disappeared. So the FBI to this day still has a lot of questions, that they need to answer. I should write about that, by the way. I've written about these things before, but now's the time that they look back and they start asking these questions. Where the hell was the FBI? They've never released a report on GBI strategies in over 4 years now. And people admitted on film, we have video of the workers saying, yeah, these were all fraud. These are fraudulent registrations. Saying 1,000 of these were fraudulent registrations. That's a crime. She admits it. Yeah. Where was the FBI? So it's just, there's so many things like that I hope we do look at, as you say.
Yeah. Well, Colonel Tony Schaefer, who led that investigation from New York to Pennsylvania, has privately told me personally that he is hoping and praying Trump will resurrect that, because he has the data and he has the witnesses, but they put the lid on it and he was told, he was threatened, leave it alone, So hopefully that will be resurrected and brought out into the light. Trump, so JD Vance, Trump, others, they're now saying, General Michael Flynn, we're going after the 51 intelligence agents that lied about the Hunter Biden laptop. Whether we waste taxpayer money investigating all 51 of them, we are for sure going to immediately look into revoking their security clearance. Do you agree with that? I personally think, yes, we need, that is a story that disrupted America. It is a turning point in American history. And I do believe those 51 need to be dealt with.
Absolutely. At least have their security clearances revoked, because a lot of them, as we know, make money off of the security clearances, and they can keep up on all of these private things that are happening. Definitely. And we know now too that the person who was behind that who was organizing that letter was Tony Blinken. And then he all of a sudden gets the job of Secretary of State. This really weaselly guy who we've never heard of, who was played in a band for years, and was so unimpressive as Secretary of State. He just got walked over, and it was stunning. But now we know, a couple years later, that he's the one who organized that letter, got everybody to sign it. And, you know, I don't think it's unheard of to have him come answer a few questions, since he's the one who organized it. And then, of course, you know, what is interesting was it was a complete setup during the debate with Trump versus Biden. I think that was set up with the media. I don't think that just came out of the blue. I think it was a perfect setup for Joe Biden, and everybody knew that that was a lie. And it was really unfortunate, you know. And they say that a lot of people said, when polled later, that affected their vote, and they would have voted differently. Well, who knows? But they shouldn't be lying to the American public like they did.
Yeah, I agree. Let me take a quick commercial break. Are you feeling it? The dollar's buying power has pummeled, down 26% since Biden took office. Prices are skyrocketing. Inflation is out of control, and every dollar buys less. But you know what is up? Gold and silver. Now, I want you to think long-term for a second. Would you bet on the US dollar or gold being worth more in 10 or 20 years? History proves gold and silver will win every time. Here's how you protect your wealth. At Colonial Metals Group, their expert team is here to guide you. Whether you're just starting, already have a 401k or IRA, or plan to safeguard your family's nest egg, you can do that with gold and silver. And they have an exclusive offer for you. Click the link or call our special 800 number today, and you could receive a safe and up to $7,500 in free silver. Don't wait. Protect your financial future now with Colonial Metals Group Gold and Silver. Okay, I don't know in English if there's a word for I'm shocked but not shocked. I don't know if there's a word for that, but I'm shocked but not shocked that within a few days of Trump's landslide victory, the Houthis around the Red Sea are saying, we're ready to stop fighting. Ukraine being forced to the table with Putin, Trump ripping off the Band-Aid, saying no more American taxpayer money and no American blood for the Zelensky-Putin fight. Putin is now saying, hey, I'm open to talking to somebody at the White House. And also, Putin announces we're not ready to drop the US dollar. We want to actually do trade with America and also with Europe. What is going on? Did we enter the twilight zone and one change of the guard and the whole planet Earth seems to be spinning differently?
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of leaders in Europe who are just reeling right now. You know, it is amazing that this has happened, and Trump hasn't even had to say a word. All they had to do was say he's going to be the next president, and these people fall in line. You know, as far as Putin and the dollar, you recall, it was Joe Biden that used the dollar as a political football and said to Russia, you can't use the dollar anymore. And they punished Russia, and they stole billions from Russia, thinking that was their responsibility, that the EU and the US take their money that they held in banks, and they actually gave it to Ukraine recently. You know, it wasn't Putin's idea to get off the dollar. It was Joe Biden's, and Joe Biden did this, and it forced Putin, China, several others in this BRICS organization to get together and start plotting on a way to get off the dollar, because they saw that it was being used as a political football, and that had never happened in the history, and it put the U.S. in great jeopardy. This was another one of Joe Biden's very dangerous decisions that really has hurt America. And I don't know if we've seen all the repercussions yet.
Yeah, I don't think that we have. Hopefully Trump can re-strengthen the dollar, make it better than it was. Speaking of dollars, Senator Mitch McConnell, probably one of the most hated Republicans in office, he held back tens of millions of dollars donated to Trump-endorsed House and Senate race candidates. In some cases, he actually donated money against them. Now he's stepping down because he sees the writing on the wall. But we have Senator John Thune, who wants to take over as majority leader. He's now telling Donald Trump, stay out of the Senate, stay out of the Senate leader discussion. Why would Trump want to stay out of that? Why wouldn't he want to put in someone who's going to align with his Make America Great agenda?
That's a great question. And, Thune has been the faithful soldier for Mitch McConnell for years. Whenever they have a press conference, there's John Thune out there. Whenever they decided to not build the wall or not fund the wall, there's John Thune with Mitch McConnell. Whenever they're lecturing Trump on whatever, there's John Thune. I think the Republican Senate has been the most disappointing and dangerous group of rhinos in the country today. It's going to be interesting to see how these dirty rhinos vote for their next leader. Are they going to pick someone like Rick Scott, who everyone likes and who just won a devastating election against a Democrat and blew her out of the water? It was over before they started counting in Florida. And he's, of course, the former governor of Florida. Very impressive man, a successful businessman, well liked. And I don't think it's even a choice at this point. I think if Rick Scott's going to run, it should be Rick Scott's. And I think John Thune needs to back off. And if they do decide that it's going to be Thune, then, I don't even know what to say then, because they don't seem to care. McConnell withheld money from Rick Scott's race, and he withheld money from Ted Cruz's race when it looked like Cruz was going to, have a more difficult time. And of course, he withheld money from Kari Lake. And what I'm hearing from Arizona is that she just got pummeled in the ads. She didn't have any money. She's probably the most impressive newcomer politician I've ever seen. She's a wonderful person. She's totally relatable. Everyone loves her. She's tough as nails. And here we have Mitch McConnell leaving her out there on her own against this. It's really strange. They're still counting in Arizona. Trump wins the state, according to several news outlets. And yet Kari Lake is losing to a communist who is for open borders in Arizona. Makes no sense at all. It's all the tricks from Arizona again. They're still counting. It's going to be a few more days, maybe a week. I mean, it's just so disgusting. That state is just so corrupt now. And thanks to Maricopa County officials. And but Mitch McConnell wasn't there for her. And do you think John Thune will give a damn? Is this what's going to happen? I don't know. If that's how they start out, that's a clear warning sign that they don't give a rat's ass about the American people. And he's also someone who supports the Ukraine war. So I really don't even know what to say if they pick that guy.
Yeah, I see McConnell and Thune as they're still the old Republican Party, right? They're still pro-war. They're still, pro-business. That's not the right way to say it, but just that old Republican feel of not looking after the worker. I think that's where Trump has come in. He's like the blue collar billionaire. He's a billionaire, but he interacts so often with blue collar, hardworking, middle class Americans that you would never know he's a billionaire, other than the fact that he has nice golf courses and things like that. But he's so relatable. I hope by John Thune saying, Trump, stay out of this, Trump is like, oh, I should definitely not stay out of this. You know, he just has that personality that's like, you tell him he can't, and now he's going to double down that he can. I just think, like you say, Rick Scott would be such a great leader of a Republican-dominated Senate. I would just love to see that.
Absolutely. He's a logical answer, but will the Senate do it? I don't know. These were the same guys who also refused to pay for the wall. And John Cornyn, who also is wanting to run for this seat, he went on Tucker, a famous interview where he's like, "Oh, the people didn't really want a wall." Yeah, Trump was talking about, but they don't want a wall, and we know better than these people anyway. The worst interview by one of the stupidest people I've ever seen, and he's thinking that he's going to run for this Senate leadership too. I don't know where it stands right now. Maybe Cornyn dropped off, but if it's them, we're in horrible trouble. And then we just disregard. Then you just lost that whole body. Then anything you want to get done is going to be sidetracked with that group of rhinos. And I hope Republicans rise up and tell them that and let them know. We're not for this, and you're going to remember this when election comes. That's what I hope happens.
Do you think Republicans and Trump will push to keep Congressman Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House, or do you think that they will open that up for somebody new to come in?
It was very strange seeing Mike Johnson on the stage with Donald Trump on his victory, when he gave his victory speech. Mike Johnson is a Democrat. And that's why all the Democrats voted for him, and that's why he's the speaker today, because he gave the Democrats everything they wanted. So I'm very confused why Trump is trying to court this guy, and he's been a huge disappointment. I wish there was someone else that they had the courage to put in that position. I really do. I wish they could come together, but Mike Johnson certainly isn't the answer. I can't imagine that he had this change of heart now that Trump is president. I just can't imagine that. I think he's still going to be as weak as ever. So,
yeah, I have two thoughts on that I've wondered. I wonder if Trump is like, yeah, he's doing a good job, but in Trump's mind, Trump's like, I just need to win. Like, I just need to become president. So I'm not going to get into the minutia of Congress right now. Or if he's like, okay, this guy, bugs me, but if I'm at the head of the organization, he'll actually get more done. Where right now, Biden is the head of the organization. I don't know. I just wonder if we're not seeing something that Trump is seeing.
Yeah. Well, I hope they win a few more seats for the House. That would be very helpful. And of course, last time their great accomplishment was to get rid of George Santos as a Republican, because some people didn't like him. And so it was the Republicans in New York who voted to get rid of a fellow Republican and kick him out of Congress. That was a total disgrace. The Democrats would never do that. And they said, of course, that he had some petty crimes where he put some a facial or a tanning session or something on his file, charged that to his office, and did some things that maybe shouldn't have been done. But we have Ilhan Omar, who committed immigration fraud. She shouldn't be in the country today. It's clear. We have several others, Democrats, who've, Maxine Waters has been in hot water for years. Nancy Pelosi's well known for her stock trades. None of these people are, the Democrats would never do this to one of their members. And yet here we had the Republicans do that. And I believe they lost that seat again. I haven't checked, but I think that seat was lost. Anyway, that's a damn shame. So I hope that they do better this time. It was pretty disappointing watching them the past couple of years since they took over, but at least we didn't have Democrats in charge. I guess we're always supposed to say that, but those Republicans didn't get a lot done.
Yeah. Um, this is something I think the American people want, and the Washington establishment does not. But in the last 24 hours, President Trump has said he is going to make a push and a plea for term limits in Congress. If that happens, I think the country changes on a dime. But the people that vote to make that happen are the very ones who want to stay in power. Is that an impossible rock to move, even for Trump? I don't know. That's a big one, but I know the American people want it.
I think it's a brilliant move for Trump because the people are behind him on that, 100% left and right. And it'll be funny how these politicians, defend that they need to be there for 30 years and develop their stock portfolio, and spend the money of not just the grandchildren now, but the great grandchildren who are to come. I think it's a brilliant move for Trump. Will they pass something like that? Not a chance. I don't think so. Not a chance. So
I guess a populist president has to say what he knows the people want, and the people want it. It's members of Congress that don't want that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they would never vote for that. Yeah.
It's been. I know you guys have covered this because I've read your articles, but President Javier Milei down in Argentina, that guy physically and metaphorically took a chainsaw to the government of Argentina. Things have never been better. They realized we got to fire a bunch of bloated government workers. We've got to make changes to make Argentina great again. Do you think Trump and Elon and RFK and Vivek and whoever else is on that team or committee, can they really make those changes in Washington, D.C.? Or is the deep state about to launch their next get Trump hoax in order to distract him from cleaning up a bloated federal government?
I think if anybody could do it, it would be Elon Musk and Donald Trump. So we will see. Could you imagine the screams and gnashing of teeth if they proceed with this? And you're right. We saw this in Argentina just recently. I'm sure that wasn't a smooth transition when Milei did that. And but we saw their stock market, and it looks like their economy's doing very well since this happened. I think it's a great move. I think Elon has the guts to do it with Trump. So wouldn't that be a dream? I hope they can get some of that done. And I hope they're not afraid to fight back. I think the past year, one thing that's been important in development in our culture, and that is that people don't trust the mainstream media anymore. So, historically, the left has turned to the mainstream media. They bitch and whine, and everybody listens to them. And I think this election was, I think they lost as much as the Democrat Party lost because people don't trust them anymore. And I love that Elon Musk throws that in their face too. They're not the news anymore. They're just a bunch of liars, and they lie about every single item, and they're partisans, and basically that's who they've been for several years. And I'm so glad he pointed that out.
Yeah. Another country that is doing very well is the president down in El Salvador. They had one of the highest murder rates, crime rates. This guy comes in. He's a populist candidate, and I don't even think he's from El Salvador, if I remember right. But he decides that they're going to do this secret operation where within like a 10-day period, they round up 50,000 gang members that are making life awful in El Salvador. They throw them in these mega prisons, and then he puts everyone in the government on notice. You're all going to be investigated for crimes, whether it's stealing from the people of El Salvador or whatever. So there are countries that are doing it. And I think America would be blessed and benefited by having Elon Musk come in with a committee that says, we're going to cut out all the rot. We're going to cut out all the bloated spending. We're going to get these budgets under control, get these foreign wars under control. It gets me so excited thinking about what they could get done.
Could you imagine if they get away with this? Yeah. And again, there'll be pushback, but Trump is much more aware this time. Last time he went in, he tried to get along. People told him to get along. He thought the people who were around him supported him. None of that was true. He filled the White House with a bunch of never Trumpers. And this time, I think he's gonna. I think he's gonna be a lot smarter. And so we'll see. At least he's not going to listen to the media. He never did. So I think that'd be great. I just think that would be so exciting. And I think if Trump does that, I think that's definitely going to help the country, number one, and the Republican Party, which really has been dying until Trump came on board.
Yeah. I think it would have been the Republicant Party had he not come along. But you know what else is kind of fun, and I'm sure you've seen this, is there's all these libertarians that are kind of like, hey, we're willing to get in bed with the Republicans because you guys are wanting to clean up the dollar, you're wanting to clean up the Federal Reserve, you're wanting to avoid these wars. Like now you have former Senator Ron Paul saying, I will literally work in the same office as Elon Musk to clean up the government. Like bringing on Trump is bringing on all of these powerhouse players with libertarian ideals that I get so excited about what the government could be 4 years from now.
Wow. Yeah. And it won't be easy. We know that. But
yeah.
I think you're right. If anybody can do it, it's Trump. So.
Yeah. Okay. One other story I wanted to get. This is trending on Twitter right now. Texas Secretary of State Jane Nelson announces the largest scale audit in Texas of the 2024 election. They are going to go through every single ballot over the next 90 days. And any fraud that they prove, those people are immediately going to jail. Texas wants to show breaking news right now. Texas wants to show all of Texas, if you commit fraud in an election, we will come down hard on you. Can you imagine if every state did this? They said, we're going to take 90 to 180 days. We're going to now slowly go through we're going to what's the word? Cut out all the rot of election disintegrity. Wow, that would be a game changer. But Texas announced, we're going for it. We're doing it.
I think that is absolutely fabulous. I could see some other states follow Texas with this. I think it's needed. I've talked to the attorney general there, who's been fighting on his own to try to clean up the elections. We know that there's a lot of problems there. And I think this is just incredible. And I think they're going to find a lot of those voters, are either not real or they're illegal. So I think it's great. It's just, that's amazing. I hadn't heard that news. So
well, it might be your article when you hang up with me. But
I'm going to look for it right away.
There's that old joke of Lyndon B. Johnson that used to stop by the cemeteries, and they said, "Why are you stopping at the cemeteries? To pay your respect to the dead?" He said, "No, I want all my voters to hear from me." So they're gonna have to. I'm excited to see what this Secretary of State Jane Nelson in Texas finds. It'll be really interesting. Okay, final question. I always value you giving me your time. I know how busy you are. What do you think are the main things that Trump needs to do between now and 2028 so that his presidency is solidified as promises made, promises kept? I know the border, the dollar, foreign war, those are going to be really big. And then are those the things that set a Republican up to win in 2028?
I think Trump's number one goal, and Mike Flynn said this a couple days ago, he needs to stay alive. Trump is going to be under an amazing amount of attacks. He already has been. Flynn is worried that there'll be another assassination attempt before the inauguration. Today, we find out more about this Iranian attack that they wanted to take Trump out. There's a lot of people that would want to do that. J.D. Vance would be great, but he's not Trump. I think, if he gets if he can accomplish some of those things, especially if he cuts down on the spending, cleans up Washington, and he also, with Robert Kennedy Jr., starts helping Americans become more healthy. I think that's really an amazing plank that we've never seen really from a president. So I think those things it would propel the Republican Party to the future. But of course, the Republicans have a knack of being complete idiots, and they want to maybe it's more comfortable to be warmongers and open borders and things like that. So we'll see how the Republicans respond, but things look good right now. We'll see. God help our new president.
Yeah, but ending on a positive note, wouldn't you say there's now more MAGA Republicans in office than maybe old school Rhino Republicans?
I don't know what the percentage is, but it's certainly gaining every time, and I think there's a lot of more MAGA Republicans in the country, and I think a lot of people who were moderate, like Elon Musk. I mean, that was a huge plus, and I think there's a lot of people like him. He gave Trump just a lot of he gave people the okay to vote for Trump because he was there and he was supporting Trump, and he's one of the most remarkable men of our this country's history. So yeah.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for coming on. If people want to follow you, where's the best place to send them?
Go to thegatewaypundit.com. Thank you, Stephen. And then we're also on the socials, so you can look for us there.
Okay. I will put a direct link so people can find it easily. Jim, thank you so much. I was so excited to talk to you. When Trump won, you were the first person I thought of. So thank you so much for coming on.
All right. Okay, Stephen. It's going to be a good year.